Hi everyone, welcome to the Tech Podcast. Today we are delving into the world of women in tech and leadership. Our special guest, Susan O'Connor, coach and mentor for women in tech. Thank you for joining, Susan.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Before we dive into our discussion, could you please give us a brief overview of your ongoing business and your journey so far?
So my business that I'm now running has only been up and running for about 6 months. It's all came out of the fact that after 30 odd years of working in the IT industry, I started off as a developer, like a lot of women, a lot of men too, but a lot of women start at the ground with doing software development. And I just went through my career, test management, project management, program management, and ended up as the operations director for Worldline UK&I. But last October, I took redundancy because part of what I was doing in my day job was coaching women to become more impactful leaders without sacrificing themselves. I trained as a coach a number of years ago, and I've used those skills in my day job to be the leader that I was. But I wanted to take it further because I think it's really, really important that women in tech, no matter what job you have, you are a trailblazer. You are a leader for other women. Doesn't matter where you are in your career. You may not have any team members that you're responsible for, but you will have. And therefore leadership and having those skills to be seen, heard and respected is absolutely essential to help you on that path. So that's what I now do.
Yeah, amazing. It's great experience and great background. And why do you think that women's leadership is a crucial topic in the business landscape today?
I believe it's absolutely critical that we have more women. Doesn't matter actually if they're leaders or not, but I do believe that women leaders help to create a better culture, a much more embracing work culture for men and women. But I think just having more women in the workplace working on products and services and doing the development, doing the analysis, doing the requirements, doing the testing is absolutely essential. If we are to be moving forward, so you just take AI, for example, there's so much unconscious and conscious bias in how it's been developed and all the data that it's creating, that's becoming the truth. And it's really important that we have women in the industry because we know our own experience. We look at things differently to how men look at it. If we have an influence over the products that have been developed and how they're being designed and how the requirements have been imagined and thought up and created, you're going to have a much better product at the end of it.
And if we're talking about women leadership, are there any key statistics that you can share regarding the representation of women in business landscape today, especially in the UK?
So in the UK, 50% of the women are the workforce. They make up the whole workforce in the UK. And at the moment, we have about a quarter of the tech workforce are women, which is better than it was in 2019 when it was 19%. However, some stats that I've seen today have indicated that just in the first 6 months this year, the UK has lost 3,000 women from the industry, even though it's grown by 85,000. So, women are leaving. They're not joining and they're leaving. So we are at a critical point really where we have to work together. Women have to be empowered together to actually make the whole industry a much better place for other women to work in, to join and to stay.
And if we're talking about the roots of that, so what cultural or historical facts that led to the lack of women in leadership roles, especially in tech industry?
So I find it really surprising that most women don't know that initially when the computing started to happen, it was actually women who were doing it. The women were the ones that were the programmers, not the men. And it was only when the men started to spot that it was actually quite a lucrative and much more challenging role than just being secretaries that they started to come in. And with them coming in, things like the hiring practices and the cultures started to change, which alienated a lot of women. So, for example, in 1946, the US military, had 50% women working on the very first computer for them. 50%.
Yeah,
And we can't even get 50% of women in the workforce into tech. And yet on the very first computer that was being built, there was 50% women. And these women, you know, if people have seen Oppenheimer, there's hardly any women in that film. And yet there were key women working in those areas around doing all the data analysis and doing all the technical computing side of things. And that's part of the cultural reference that's still missing. Without those role models, without women seeing other women in the industry, having children, having families, having a balanced life, and still succeeding, we're not going to change that culture, and we're not going to change that impression for young women as they come into the industry. I'm just trying to think,
yeah. How do you think we can address this to lasting change?
I think it's down to us women. It's not that we want to fix women. I think it's just we need to find our courage. We need to find our empowerment. Women are very good at connecting with other women. They're very good at caring about other people and making environments really nice to work with. As a leader, I have led some very complex projects, very complex programs, been responsible for hundreds of people. But one of the things that I would always do is to make sure that I'm available as much as I could to help others to do their job, because I always see myself as a leader who is enabling other people to be the best that they can at their jobs. And if that means that they need to just talk something through with me so that they can then make the right decisions, then I will do that. If they need me to make decisions, I will do that. And it's that power that women bring into the whole of the industry. And I was talking to somebody earlier today, and they were saying that out of their team of 90, they've got a handful of, well, more than a handful of superheroes, people that head of, that CIO can really rely on. And out of that, there was 14 women and 3 men.
Mm-hmm.
So he was really recognizing the power that the women had in his organization to change the culture from inside. And I think that's the gift that a lot of women can do, because by changing that culture, we can really encourage, really develop more women. But the ripple effect is more powerful than that, because as women do that, men get on as well. Because actually, let's be honest, there's a lot of men who aren't very happy in the tech industry either.
What do you think the most important skills for women seeking to attain like leadership positions?
I was thinking about this earlier, and I think for me, courage. And I use that specifically, not resilience, because I personally don't really like the word resilience, because to me, resilience is more about putting up with some of the really bad behavior. You know, to be resilient, you've got to be able to work all the hours God send and all the negative sides of things. But I think courage is much more important. Courage to be yourself, courage to speak up, courage to just be honest with yourself. And if something's not working out, if a place is just not right for your values, find somewhere else that really does. The other skills I think you need to have, yes, you need to have the technical and logical skills, but actually quite a lot of the softer skills are as important. if you are logical, if you're already a developer or working in an industry, you've already got those skills. You just need to learn something new each time something new comes out. You know, goodness knows how many new tech programs I've had to learn over the years. You just do it. We're okay at that. Being able to walk into a room full of men and sit down and speak up and don't allow the men to speak over you is a different skill altogether. And sometimes, and this is where now what I do with my current organization is about coaching women to be able to have that presence, to be able to bring that extra level, no matter where you are in your career, so that you stand out and that you're confident. But it's an inner confidence. It's not arrogance. It's not showing off. It's being able to walk into that room and be self-assured. I think some of the other skills is being quite strategic. Again, we can sometimes get very stuck into the detail. We're looking at everything that we're doing. We're trying to finish the program, or we're trying to finish the project, or we're trying to get here. Sometimes you need to look up and look out and see what's going on around you, because that's where the opportunities are. And if you're always looking down, you're not seeing what else is out there. And I think lastly, one of the skills or recommendations I would have is to align yourself with senior people who have the values that you respect. This is not about buttering up or you know, trying to be seen by those people whose values you don't really respect. But if you align yourself with those that you do like and respect, be known by them, get to know them, get to know how they've got to talk to them, find out what's going on. It could just be a manager, a team leader that you respect, or it could be the CEO. You know, just be brave, just have courage and reach out, particularly if you've got women in the organisation whose values you do respect. I know that there are a lot of women who do get to the top, not necessarily in a very positive way. I'm very mindful of that, but there are more women out there who will help you on your way. I think those are the skills that I would recommend.
Sounds very inspiring. I can't disagree. What are the biggest challenges women face when they're seeking a leadership position in tech industry right now?
Gosh, that's a big question. There are so many challenges, I think. I think one of the biggest challenges I certainly have I hit is the unconscious assumption that I wasn't ambitious because I was a wife and a mother, and in my 40s, there was, even if I went into my appraisal and said, I want to be the next ops director, I want to be the COO, I want to be a CEO, it wasn't heard.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that challenge, when you're younger, sometimes, you know, you get quite a lot of sponsorship and lots of support through graduate programs and things like that. But when you get into your mid-30s and upwards, sometimes you're just not seen or heard or recognised. And I think that is the biggest challenge, is to make sure that those who are making the decisions actually know who you are. And this is where you need to be your own advocate. Don't wait for somebody else to notice you and to go, yes, that person over there, Susan, she's really good at what she does, she will make the next COO. That just doesn't happen. I applied for my ops director role a few years ago, knowing I was going into this when a man had already been chosen for the job. Everybody knew that this man was going to do the job. And in the light of being a self-advocate, I actually knew I was better than he was, because he was constantly coming to me and asking me how to do things. I knew that job was the right job for me, and I was going to do my damnedest to actually go and get it. When I applied and my application landed in my boss's inbox, he was telling me afterwards he was blown away because he said he had absolutely no idea I was that ambitious. And yet I told him so many times. As you will know, I had the interview on the Thursday afternoon, and at 8:30 on the Friday morning, they rang me up to tell me I'd got the job, which was amazing. But I was being really, really courageous because I was putting myself out there, knowing that no one was going to expect me to go for that. And sometimes we have to shock them to make them realize that we are ambitious.
Could you please tell me how to help women to recognize and enhance their leadership potential?
So because of my training as a coach, I now use that training to really work with women. So through a process of questioning, helping women to understand where their blockers are, where their resistance are, where their beliefs are holding them back and not serving them anymore, and helping them to actually recognize that, there are triggers there. So for example, I had one client who was a program manager, so she was quite, pretty senior, looking after major projects, and she was admitting that she really struggled going into stakeholder meetings when she called them the grey granite blocked men in suits around the table. She said she would manage it, she would do it, but she would be quaking inside. And to admit that was quite hard for her, but she knew that in order to get to the next level, she really needed to kind of like help herself to find ways around this. And so working with her, I was able to actually unpick what was going on, why she felt how she did, but more importantly, to give her skills and tools and techniques that she could use in the moment when she's feeling uncertain and unsure, to help her embody that confidence that will get her through that meeting, but not just get through the meeting, but get through the meeting with gravitas, with control, so that actually when those people are looking at her, they're seeing someone who is in control and who is a leader. And she was feeding back that, she had a steering committee, and she said it was just amazing. She just was in so much control of that meeting. She didn't waffle on. She didn't sort of try and excuse things or over explain things. She was just calm and in control. And that's the sorts of things that I work with to help women feel empowered. There's also all the other bits and pieces around helping women to reclaim their balance, because quite often we're so busy trying to be seen at work that we work really, really hard, and we work extra long hours, and we're volunteering for this, and we'll organise the cake sale, and we'll organise this, and anything, we'll do everything to be seen and to get that next promotion. But actually that comes with a cost, so we don't see our family, and we get tired and we get exhausted. And I work with them to actually how to get those boundaries in and how to balance that life so that they are able to take that leadership role without selling their soul and without killing themselves in the process.
Great.
Hopefully that answered the question.
Yes, thank you very much. And okay, so do you think that this is important to build your personal brand, to be in public, to maybe be involved in conferences and public talks, to create your own podcast, and so on? Is it important for your career?
I think so, and I'm only just realizing this now. For 30 years I've worked really hard. I've got to where I wanted to do. I started to realize this when I became the ops director, that I needed to not just look in and look at, because the ops director role is very much an internal role. It's about making sure that you deliver your projects, your programs, the services, all this sort of stuff. But I started to recognize that I needed to look out and start to build connections and networks. So I started to do that then. I've learned since I actually left the organization and I'm starting to build my own business that networking is so much more important. Women are really isolated. A lot of women may be the only woman on their team. And we get used to that and we think it's okay. But actually, if you ask yourself, it's very lonely. And you've got no one to go and ask questions about how to handle the fact that every time you walk into the office, someone's making a comment about what you're wearing. A bloke will be making a comment about what you're wearing. Or, you know, you've found out you're pregnant and you don't know how to tell your manager because you feel awkward. You know, all these sorts of things. Who do you ask? Who do you go to? So I personally think going to the forums, going to the conferences, getting involved with the women in tech stuff that's out there, not only helps you to build a network, helps you to build some friends, it helps you to find mentors, it helps you to find sponsors, but it also helps you to find the right companies that you could end up working for. So I think being able to run a podcast like yourself, having those extra skills just gives you an extra edge, because there aren't many men doing these things. So I would wholeheartedly encourage everyone to do that, particularly the networking side of things. And if anyone is listening on this call today, if you feel like you're not networking enough and you don't know where to start, connect with me on LinkedIn. We can have a chat. But I've also got a virtual coffee meetup happening on the 5th of September, which you're all welcome to join. It's just an hour to go and meet some other women, to have a conversation and to start networking in a really safe environment.
Great, I'll join as well. What advice would you give to young women who attain to get a leadership role in tech industry, taking into account like challenges and opportunities?
I think the key thing is to keep an eye on the opportunities and to self-advocate. When you do your appraisal, don't put it to the side and think you can't be bothered with that. Everybody should know if you're really good. Take some time. Do the homework. Make sure you complete what you're supposed to complete, and make sure you put letter and verse. You write everything down what you've done. In fact, I would recommend that you keep a journal of all your wins, no matter how big or small. You could even do that on a daily basis, because that helps you not only to be able to be your self-advocate, so you can go to your line manager and go, this is what I've achieved. But in those moments when you don't feel like you're getting anywhere, you can just look at your list and go, do you know what? I'm great at this. And I think, you know, it is networking, talking to people. And I know for quite a lot of us in the tech industry, that's not easy because we're pretty introverted. But at the same time, even if you're an introvert, women love to be connected. That's what makes our soul things. Men are very solution-based, whereas women, we like to have that conversation. We like to have that connection. So my advice, my recommendation is to start making those connections, because they are the things that are going to help you to move up in your career towards the leadership roles that you want.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Susan, for this insightful conversation, and thank you guys for joining us today. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and see you next time.